I'm Dr. Jenene Calloway, and what inspires me is the younger generation.
All right, and welcome to the Lantern Podcast, a show out of Good Cause Productions that is produced and promoted by students at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. I'm your host, Ryan Martin, and we have a fantastic guest for you today. She is the Senior Vice President of Human Resources at Schreiber Foods and the founder of Calloway Leadership Collective, where she is dedicated to elevating leaders and strengthening organizational leadership pipelines. She has a master's degree in IO psychology from Missouri State University and a PhD in global leadership from Troy University. Please welcome Dr. Jenene Calloway. I love that answer. So let's talk about it. What about the younger generation inspires you?
So, as I was thinking about this, it actually took me to stories that my mother told me.
Okay.
Specifically growing up. And my mom, she grew up, during the civil rights and different protests for equal rights. And she would tell me all these stories about how they would do sit-ins. And I used to be just so inspired by that because my mom was in the military.
Okay.
And she's very structured, very by the rules, and that's really kind of how I've always seen my mother. But when she started to share those stories with me, the older I got, I was like, wow, Mom, that's pretty cool. And when I started to hear those stories, it inspired me to think about, how do I want to show up? How do I want to share my voice around things that matter to me? And I've done that in a variety of different ways, from, participating in protests myself to signing certain petitions, writing letters on behalf of different things. And in the last couple of years, I've actually seen another form of protest, but through my children. And the reason why it inspires me is the way in which they think about it. It's not really this long, elaborate, detailed explanation as to why they do what they do. It's just very simple. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
And that's so inspiring to me. It's I don't have time to talk about the whys. It's the right thing to do. And that inspires me. Just sticking to, because it's the right thing to do and not get caught up in all the other stuff. And so that thinking it energizes me.
Well, especially because you're right. As you're describing that, I'm thinking through, conversation I've had with my kids about this, and we should just say for the record, our kids are best friends,
Yes.
and have been for a very long time, and so they know each other. But I think that a big part of what I love about their thinking is how often it actually isn't necessarily super nuanced.
Right.
It isn't. There is a recognition of
Yes.
kind of this is the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, and that comes through all the time.
Yeah, and it's usually at times when you least expect it, right? Where I'm oh, you observed that, you saw that.
Yeah.
Even most recently, I shouldn't say recently because it's cold, in the summertime when we went outside. Just being outside with a neighbor, walking their dog. They stopped by to say hi, and their dog and our dog played together, and in that conversation, there was something shared. And I was like, oof, I don't love the way that sounded.
Right.
And when we got back in the house, my son immediately just said, Mom, that was so sexist. And I'm thinking, oof, okay. That wasn't vocabulary that I heard him use before.
Yeah.
But, here my son at that time, 13 years old, acknowledged the remark and what it was. And like I said, I just appreciate that because I don't know if at age 13 I was thinking like that, but it just shows that they're watching us, they're listening, and I'm, again, inspired by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, about sort of what messages they are picking up, and because you're right, it's so often not what we say, it's what they witness us doing and where we're showing up and where we're not showing up, and those messages. So I've known you for a long time, but I think that's the first time maybe I learned that your mom was in the military. So I'm curious to know, let's maybe back up a little bit. I'd love to just know more about you're growing up and some of the
Yeah.
values you picked up. I guess my first question is, because I know you lived in Missouri
Yeah.
for a long time. Is that where you're originally from?
It is. It
Okay.
is. So I would say my parents were older parents. I have two
Okay.
brothers that are 10 and 12 years older than me.
Okay.
And so, really, much of my childhood, my dad was kind of retired or on the way to retiring, and my mom was just years from it. But yeah, both of my parents, my dad was in the Army, and my mom was in the Navy. And
Okay.
they spent, like I said, they were very structured in how they talked about, what they expected of us. And while both of them were in the military, I never really experienced that because they were, past that season or chapter in their life. But born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, grew up there, still have family there, in-laws, and some of my best friends. So we get back at least once or twice a
Nice.
year. And so, yeah, it's still very much home. And while we've been in Green Bay now for 13 years, I know I just thought it was, 2
Yeah.
years, right? But it's been a really wonderful transition for us. But here, 13 years, but I still say St. Louis is home. So I'm not sure how long I need to be here in Green Bay for me to
Yep.
say it's home. But yeah, home is St. Louis.
I do the same thing. I'm on year 21 in Green Bay,
Wow,
which is
yeah.
longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I still think of Minnesota as
Yeah,
home for whatever reason. So
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. So what? So grew up, in St. Louis. I think went to college in St. Louis. Went to grad school in St. Louis. Tell me a little bit though about kind of some of those values that I know you hold that you picked up from your parents or
Yeah.
so on.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of my value creation, if you will, or the things that really shaped, who I am, it started, I would say, probably in high school. And of course, you were exposed to different things growing up, but it was high school where I probably started to experience the most resilience, or the first resistance, excuse me, not resilience. That's the outcome. It was a lot of resistance towards junior year, senior year, when I was started to think about going to college. And really, both of my parents, they didn't go to, your traditional 4-year institution. My mom had an associate's degree, but both of my parents were very successful by, going into the military and building a life for my brothers and I. So this college thing, it was very new to our family.
Right.
But what really inspired me to think about college was had really good grades. My friends were going to college, and I started to prepare for that chapter, and just was not doing well on the entrance exams. I mean, just not doing well on them, to the point where like teachers were really surprised by it,
Right.
like because I had such a high GPA, and I was encouraged to still apply, and just continue to get rejection letters. And even after studying and getting tutors, I mean, just still wasn't able to get past that threshold for admittance. And because of my grades being high, there was an individual that he was actually my track coach, and was able to work with a university there in Springfield, Missouri, to allow me in on academic probation. And I just remember going through that transition of like, gosh, it felt like I did something wrong, like
Right.
probation, right?
Right.
But once I was let in, like straight A's off of academic probation, and started on my journey, and went into psychology as a major. Psych-hi. And says no one, right?
Right.
People in psychology,
take
but
it.
it's okay. And took a variety of classes, and made one of those classes was industrial organizational psychology, and that's when I knew that's what I want to do.
So this is maybe gonna surprise you. I've never taken an IO psych class. I know. So I know. So all of these different psych courses, never
Yeah.
taken IO. But so what about IO
Yeah.
spoke to you?
It was the transformation piece related to people, leaders, and organizations. Like it was something about it that really intrigued me. I mean, there was a huge leadership component initially in the course that really pulled me in. But then it was also a component around like how organizations make decisions and structure things for like maximum effectiveness. And again, when I was going through the class, it was like nerd alert, like who cares about that stuff? But like I knew right away, like that was something that really intrigued me. And like you can get paid for it working in a university, or at a university, yes, teaching it, but also in like corporate. You can work as a consultant. There was just so many different things you can do with the degree. But the part of IO psychology that really intrigued me was the training and development component of it, specifically leadership development. So I found out I had to go on and get a master's degree in it, and happened to be at a school that had one of the best programs applied and didn't get in because I didn't have the GRE scores. And once again, I was let in on academic probation. Again, I remember being number 11 out of, the 11, there were 10 and I was 11. And I remember just feeling kind of like, like the black sheep, if you will. And another opportunity to build resilience. Did very well and ended up, graduating, top of class and like going on and getting a job and doing the work. But like those early years, I was just trying to figure out like, what is this like work hard to get high grades but not do well on tests thing all about? But, I get now why I had to go through that.
Yeah. So tell me why.
So one, everything at that point had come pretty easy to me, but I was faced like hard work, right? Like I was the recipient of like hard work. I wasn't afraid of hard work, but no matter how hard I worked to study for those exams or the materials I came across, it just would not translate from a scoring perspective. And so I think at that time, just being resilient through that, also just becoming firm in who I am and what I was capable of doing, and not letting this single data point say what I could or could not do. And then also, that's when really my faith became just foundational to how I navigated those things. And it gave me, my faith was another place I went to just help me not allow, again, that one data point take me to a place of where I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah. So I didn't know that about you as far as the like having struggle with the tests and being so. I know. So I think I've shared this with you that I had a similar experience. For me, it was I when I went to my second school, because I did so poorly in my first school, I needed to go in on academic probation as well. And part of what that developed for me was a little bit of maybe a little bit of a chip. Like there was sort of a sense of I want to prove to them that they made the right decision.
Absolutely. I could see, I absolutely was in that space of like, let me tell you why you made a mistake, right?
Right.
And I don't, and I mean, that's been a bit of my career too, right? Like I've always kind of been, I normally show people by my results and what I do. And once people work with me long enough, they get it. Right. And so that's been a bit of my journey. Like I just show people, right? I don't really talk, and I don't just, go through all my credentials and all this stuff. Once you work with me, you understand, like once I'm pretty passionate about things, like I figure out how to get it done. Yeah. Yeah.
So you get a master's degree in IO Psych. What happens next for you?
I go out into the real world and I worked in healthcare for a little bit. So I worked in HR more specifically, more on the administrative side of HR, so more process-oriented, compliance-oriented, structure, and, very much the back of HR that a lot of people don't know about. And I quickly learned, like, gosh, I don't love not interacting with people after going into HR. And so actually went to dinner one night with my husband and a friend, and he was just raving about this company that he worked for. And I just remember leaving that dinner thinking, gosh, one day I'd love to work for a company like that, right? And, 8 months later, I'm looking online on, monster.com. I don't know if that still exists today.
Yep.
Does it? I don't know.
I have no idea, honestly,
Okay.
but I know what you're talking about.
I
I remember.
haven't looked for a job in a while, but
Yeah.
I went on monster.com and I saw the company pop up, Schreiber Foods, and I applied
It was
for
the same one that he was talking about? He was talking about Schreiber?
Correct.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yes. Applied for the role, went through the interview process, and was super excited because, where the opportunity was 35, 40 minutes from my house and didn't have to relocate. And I was on my final interview, and it was realized that the job description was incorrect, and the job was actually in Nebraska, not Missouri. And, at this point, I had already fallen in love with the company and the opportunity, and I took the risk, and we moved to Ravenna, Nebraska.
Okay.
And I was able to work in a HR operations type of role. So HR manager at the manufacturing plant. I was able to build that team up and help hire the leaders to help us go into a new product category at that time. And I did that for a bit, and then I transitioned to another HR manager role in a larger manufacturing facility, which was back in Missouri. And what I really loved about that is it got me back closer to home. And my mother actually moved near us at that time when we had our first child, and I was going to retire there. Like I was good. I'm back home, and then like God had another plan, in that the dream job I wanted, which was in training and development, had come available. I applied for that role here in Green Bay. We relocated to Green Bay. And again, dream job, but again, there was more in store for me around that, and I was able to grow that team from a U.S.-based team to a global team. Then I was able to then take on our talent acquisition team, which is our hiring of our salary professional roles and hourly here in Green Bay. And then that grew into some of our inclusivity work. I was able to lead our inclusivity strategy. So I did that for about 5 years.
Okay.
And then most recently moved into a different role, which is primarily focused on HR operations for our U.S. fleet.
Okay.
Yeah, so all HR and,
Yeah.
IO psychology is weaved throughout that.
Yeah. All starting from a conversation at dinner, but then
Yes.
also
Yeah.
a willingness to take a risk.
Absolutely.
I my brother gave me advice really early on in my career, and he said, figure out what you want your life to look like, and then early on in your career, make a lot of decisions about trying to get there, even if those decisions might not feel like the perfect thing right now, but
Yes.
it helps you,
Yes.
and it feels like this is an example of doing that, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this job in Nebraska. Do I want my life to be in Nebraska? Probably not,
Yeah.
but this will help me get to the thing I
Absolutely.
do want.
Absolutely. And I mean, I always knew I wanted to work in the people development space, the people transformation space. And obviously, you transform people, they will enable organizational transformation. And so I've always known that that's the space I've wanted to work in. And I've just been able to do different things under that umbrella. And it's
Right.
been just incredibly rewarding for me.
Yeah. Well, and it feels to me, I mean, part of what I think is really interesting about your story too is a couple of points where you've sort of highlighted, like, hey, I had some support from and some mentorship from
Yeah.
my mom,
Yeah.
from this track coach,
Yeah.
and others,
Yeah.
but then also sounding like you really want to be there for other people in that way.
Absolutely. Like that, that really gets into, what I feel like is my calling in life. Like that's been very clear to me at a very early age, like that I'm here to help support, evolve, and grow people, right? I feel like that's one of my gifts that I was given, and it's something that I want to use and share with other people.
Wow. So you did something extraordinarily brave, and that is that I would have a hard time doing at this point in my life, and that is that you went back to school probably, 6-7 years ago, and got a
Yeah.
PhD
Yeah.
in global leadership.
Yeah.
Am I right on the timing there? Was it pre-pandemic?
So, 19, I applied for the
Okay.
program. Yeah,
Okay.
when everything was going to be normal and nothing would change in the world in 2019. And I just, I was reflecting on what was going on. Like it was actually always a goal of mine,
Mm-hmm.
but because the bachelor's and the master's degree was just such a hurdle initially, I just put it on pause and just wanted to make sure that like I was good and I was able to get what I wanted out of my education up to that point. And then I felt an itch, and I get these itches every couple of years. And that itch was, I wanted to be challenged in a different way. And I started to do some research around different programs, PhD programs. And I came across this PhD in global leadership. And I was like, that's it. And then I started to meet with some of the faculty at Troy University. And like, it was a new program. So if I was admitted at that time, I would be cohort 1, and that excited me too, like to be part of something and grow it. And I think like now, it is 6 years later, like cohort 16, right? Like, so the program has grown quite a bit since I went through, and it was such an amazing experience for me. And not a lot of people can say that about, getting a PhD, but it was just so immersive.
Yeah.
And my cohort, we were just so tight as we went through the program because all of us, we were working professionals, many of which were in academia, many that were in the military, consultants. And I was kind of probably one of two in like a corporate setting. And we all just brought our experiences together and really made the best of that program. What I really loved about it is like an internship. I had an internship in Africa and also in London. And like just, it was a very immersive experience, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah, it was tough to do it as an adult with a family with 2 kids and like this job that, I needed to make sure I showed up really well in every day, and a team that relied on me. And so as I look back, I'm thinking, how did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
and not have that many grays.
Yes.
But it was such a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you were telling me over the weekend, so I should tell everyone that you've spent the last 2 days with me over the weekend watching basketball. So, like, the fact that you came in for day number 3 is really very kind of you. So
No, the pleasure is mine. Like, I enjoy hanging out with the Martin family.
Oh, well, good. I appreciate that. And the feeling is very mutual. But you were telling me this weekend about your dissertation, which I think sounds fascinating, and I want other people to hear about it too. So talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. It's not every day people go, tell me about your dissertation.
Yeah, no.
So,
You are in the
nerd
right
alert
place.
is about to go off, right? So I've always had interest in a couple of different topics. So one, leadership, 2, entrepreneurship, and then also transitions. Like those are kind of 3 research areas that I've in goal setting. There's a few others, and just I wanted to do something. I wanted to research around a topic that I would find rewarding because I knew I would spend a lot of time thinking about it. And so what my dissertation really looked at is the different leadership approaches, but more specifically, the leadership approach of women and how that enables them to shift into entrepreneurship. More specifically, the way in which they lead. And so there's a lot of, there are experiences women have in the traditional workplace that impacts how they show up, how they lead, how they make decisions. And those same strategies that my research uncovered that allowed them to be successful as leaders in the traditional place were the same strategies that allowed them to shift successfully into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So it was really cool. I focused on African diasporic women, so women that had a link back to Africa, so they didn't necessarily have to be living in Africa at the time. Some of the women were, in various countries, but to make it global, I wanted to make sure I had representation of women across the world, but again, their origin linked back to Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, super rewarding. process and just something that I'm just grateful that I was able to be part of.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So how are you, I want to transition to our 3 questions here in a second, but first, I'm just curious, how are you running with the work of your dissertation, and what are some of the things you're doing with the degree?
Yeah. So I get that question a lot. So now that you have the degree, now what? And I say, I'm doing the work already, but what it has allowed me to do is some of the decision making I have to do daily in my role, whether that's around, immigration or the development of a leadership development program for leaders at varying levels, or even how I influence a global team around a big project. A lot of the approaches that I take come from my program. But I've also looked into a little bit deeper, like transitions I mentioned earlier, and what helps facilitate a successful transition into leadership. So more specifically, the high performer into a new leadership role, or a leader of a team, and how do they become an effective leader of multiple teams. And so that's the research and work that I'm doing right now. It's just looking more at that transitions piece and what enables a successful transition.
That is fascinating. And you already promised, but I want it for the record, you promised you'd come talk to my entrepreneurship work group. So
let the minutes reflect.
Yes.
Yes, I would love to. Yes.
Thank you. No, I'm super excited about that, because I want to learn more myself, but also I know my team would love hearing about this. So
wonderful.
Fantastic. All right, our 3 questions.
Okay.
First one is, we've talked a lot today about sort of what's inspired you along the way. Who is it you hope you are inspiring?
My children. For sure. Like I want them to look at me and just think that anything is possible, right? And they've seen me navigate, motherhood while finishing up a PhD, and they see in some cases that I'm the only woman, leading in certain situations, and they've seen me read the email that is a denial. Or heard me respond to no. And I hope they see my resilience through those moments. And so I hope my children are inspired by me and my resilience.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. What is a book, a movie, a TV show, some work that changed your life?
With so many different ways I could have went with this, but I thought, gosh, I don't know if I want to talk about that. Maybe when the camera stops, I'll talk about my favorite show, Golden Girls. But books, so I'm actually able to read again.
Nice.
Now that I'm done with school. There are 2 books that come to mind, and ironically, I didn't know this, but they have a word in common. The word is yes. So the first book I'll share is The Best Yes by Lisa Kirst, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. And this book really focuses on our life is just constantly, multiple demands. There's a lot of things that come to us. Do you want to do this? Can you participate in this? Can you write this? You're invited to, multiple events. And it's but what is the best yes in this situation? And at the time I found this book, it was just I was in that space of, do you want to serve on this board? And the book just really helped me come up with a structured way of making sure I was saying yes to the right things.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but that was the really interesting part of my career that I wasn't prepared for, and was pre-tenure. I said yes to everything because it felt like I had to.
Right.
Then post-tenure, all of a sudden I felt like, I get to choose now what I say yes to, and I wasn't totally ready for that. It was, there was, in fact, I think that probably the hardest time, this is weird to say, but the hardest time of my career was right after tenure, where I sort of went into a little bit of a slump because I was trying to figure out who I wanted to be.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And what you described, I imagine a lot of people navigate that outside of education, right? There's always something that you could be doing, but is it the best yes though for right now? And there's a faith component to the book, and it really talks about like your calling in life and what you feel like you've been called to do. And does that yes get you closer to your calling or further away from it? And I read it like every 3 or 4 years. A lot of times I'll do it with my mentees. It's just a way to like recalibrate even for myself. Am I doing the right things right now? Is there something I need to pull away from so I can go towards something else I've been called to do?
Oh, that's fantastic. Did you have a second book you wanted to talk about?
The second book is The Year of Yes.
Okay. And
this is by Shonda Rhimes. And
I was going to say, this one sounded familiar to me. So,
yes. Okay. And so in this book, she just talks about, if you don't know the author, like, Grey's Anatomy scandal, like How to Get Away with Murder.
That fantastic show so the one that's on Netflix that I absolutely love, the mystery with the detective. It's bugging me that I can't remember. Tina's gonna be so mad.
Yes,
but, yeah.
We'll remember it. I see it.
The Residence.
Yes. So
fantastic.
So creator of all these wonderful shows, she comes out with this book, The Year of Yes, and she just talks about she wanted to spend more time saying yes to things that mattered and were significant and would allow her to grow, evolve, and more specifically address some of her fears. And, at the time I read it, it was very relevant to me. And a lot of the things that I wasn't saying yes to, again, back to the best yes, it was because of fear. And this book really allowed me to have a paradigm shift around how I viewed that. And, I really took that on. And so I have this phrase that I use quite a bit, and it's do it afraid, right? And I have a little bit of tattoo art to remind me of that.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, my mom is not happy about this tattoo.
Do your kids know?
They do. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to say, don't get a tattoo. Like, I got to figure out how I'm going to have that conversation until you're 40 something. But so Do It Afraid was very much inspired by that book, because it's a reminder that just because I'm afraid to do it doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. And I've been able to just experience a tremendous amount of growth, both personally and also professionally. Yeah.
All right. Last question. What's some advice that you would have for someone who has not yet found their way?
I'm gonna pull it out and just say, do it afraid.
Love it.
Right? I believe a lot of the time, when we haven't found our way, it's because we haven't opened enough doors, right? And a lot of times the more we're exposed to, the more we can better understand, like, yes or no, right? Like, this feels right, this does not feel right. This feels energizing, this is not energizing to me. And so the things that you fear, move towards those things, because it will likely expose you to situations and opportunities that may be the next chapter for you that you don't know quite yet. So do it afraid.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right. I guess anything else you want to say or talk about before we finish things up?
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been great. I'm glad you're doing this, and I love the mission around what you're trying to highlight and bring joy and hope. And so I'm glad to be part of it.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. And thank you so much for being here. Where can people find more about you if they want to connect?
Absolutely. I would say LinkedIn is a great way. So Jenene Calloway on LinkedIn. And then I have a couple of my other channels linked to that as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So check her out on LinkedIn and elsewhere. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we are here with Kennedy Punky. Kennedy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So for those of you who don't know, you are one of the students who works on the show. You've been here for the longest, I think, of any of the students working on the show. You edit, you help produce, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's going to keep going. You made it sound like you're coming to an end, and I don't want that.
Well, it is coming to an end, unfortunately. But hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's not over until it's over. So, but one thing I have noticed working here is I help set up all the fun lights and decorations and stuff. And behind us, we always have this little display of a bunch of fun stuff, and that changes. So I assume that stuff on there is Ryan Martin life?
A lot of it is stuff that, so you're talking about the shelf behind us. A
Yes.
lot of it is stuff that used to be in my office that we moved in here. So it's stuff that that's important to me. So what are you curious about?
Well, I don't know if the camera can see that far, but I'm curious about the cat. The
cat.
Yeah, what is the cat?
So the cat is it is a robot cat.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, it meows. It was originally going to be part of a video series that we did, not for the Lantern podcast, but this. And so its name is Cat GPT.
Beautiful name.
Yeah, it's a little robot cat that we have. Who lives in here for the Lantern episodes. Gets swapped out for Psych and Stuff episodes, I believe.
Yes, it does.
Replaced maybe with knitting or something.
Yes,
like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's yarn down there.
Yeah, should we bring the cat out?
Bring the cat out. Bring the cat out.
All right, there is
What a cutie pie.
GPT.
My goodness.
And I want to say that Cat GPT can it meows and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Yeah, get him out of the corner there.
Yeah.
He deserves the spotlight for once.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. And
yes, of course.
Yes, we will unpack other items back there over time.
Beautiful,
Very good.
beautiful. Good start.
Yeah, so real quick, you can learn more about the show, about Cat GPT, probably, through our social media at UWGB Cause. That's UWGBCAHSS. And you can learn more about me at Anger Professor and all the different social media places. What am I missing, Kennedy? Anything important?
I don't think so. I think that kind of covers it. Most social medias that are out there, we're on. So just look us up, follow us, and support.
Yeah, awesome. And for those of you not watching live, you're going to have to check out our social so you can see Cat GPT in action.
For sure.
We'll create a video about Cat GPT.
Oh, yeah, it needs to be highlighted more from now on.
Absolutely. Good. So will you please take us home?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, sir.
No.
You can keep that.
Yeah, please do.
Your face is priceless. The Lantern is brought to you by Good Cause Productions at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. The executive producer is Ryan Martin, and the production manager is Rachel Sankey. The engineer for today's episode is Rachel Sankey with the support from Justin Calloway. That music you love so much was arranged by our very own Michelle McQuaid-Dewhurst. Special thanks to our guest, Jenene Calloway. If you haven't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Keep being amazing.